Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
Hello friends. In any Java program, whenever we write any Java program, basically, we get some errors, right? Like if you do any syntactical mistake, basically, your Java will not allow you basically to compile the code. Okay, it will give you compile time errors. Basically, each language is having certain grammar, and if you are not following that grammar, then you get the compile time errors. Okay, the way of writing the program, if you're not following, you will be getting compile time errors. But sometimes what happens, I write the code which is syntactically very correct, syntactically it is proper, it got compiled also, but still while execution, while running the program, suddenly on certain input, when I'm passing certain input, my program halts. Okay, it terminates, which is very much bad, I would say. Let's imagine I'm having a software, and that software at particular input, it got, what I can say, crashed, which is totally, what I can say, disaster. Okay, so basically such what I can say, my program which was syntactically correct, then why it got crashed? That is the question. So it may possible that you did some logical mistakes, my logic which I have written, okay, and that because of that logic it results something inappropriated, which is not being, what I can say, not being uh, accepted by my Java platform. Okay, and what in that case what will happen, your Java runtime directly stops or terminates your program at that particular moment. So such logical mistakes which we do, these are known as exceptions. Okay, now Java has provided us a very good mechanism to handle such situation, because just imagine if you are having a program and which got terminated due to some logical mistake, which is totally not acceptable basically. Okay, a running system should run properly, and even if such logical mistake happens, it should able to handle it. Either it should show you a graceful message, so that the user should understand uh, what action to be performed in such a case, or at least something should happen, like it should handle that situation and retakes the input. Okay, just take an example of ATM. Now due to some what I can say, database issue, or due to some network error, or due to some memory errors, or due to some logical mistake, my program has got ATM program, which is basically there. See, ATM is normally transactions which is being handled over there, which is very much tricky and very much, what I can, sensitive matter. So such program, if it get halts, okay, during money transfer, it will be like a disaster. Okay, but have you ever saw such thing happened? It always show you a message that your transaction has got cancelled, or try out after some time. It shows at least some message to you. Okay, it is not like it halts and user don't know what to do next. Okay, so basically Java has given you a very good mechanism to handle these situations, and that is nothing but an exception handling. So in this video we are going to learn how actually exceptions can be handled. So basically in this video we are going to see introduction to the exceptions and the errors. Okay, so basically, as I already told you, that exceptions are nothing but a logical mistakes which we do in a program. Okay, now what do you mean by that? Just for an example, I have written the code for writing the data into the file, or reading the data from the file. Okay, but then while running the program, someone has deleted the file from the location from where I'm reading it or where I'm writing it. Okay, now what will happen in such a situation? Okay, this is the one example. Another example is whenever let's try to do, we are doing some calculation in our program. Okay, and in that particular program, I'm doing some arithmetic calculation, and because of this calculation, the situation is like I'm getting division by 0. Now in mathematics, whenever you're dividing any number by 0, it gives you infinity. But in case of Java, it is totally, what I can say, it is not going to be handled. It is it is going to generate an exception. Okay, there is no infinity to be handled in Java. So such are these are the examples which is nothing but need to be handled. Okay, so basically let's understand what is error all about. So whenever we write a program, we get errors, or you may say errors are nothing but mistakes. Generally, errors are of two types: compile time and the run times. So in compile time, two types of errors again you get. Something which is nothing but a syntactical mistake, which we are not considering as a errors over here. Okay, these are just syntactical mistakes. But apart from it, sometimes in compile time itself, certain mistakes you do apart from the syntactical exception, syntactical mistakes, and that is being categorized in compile time errors. Okay, so which errors are occurred at a time of compilation of the program? So I can say that like I'm having file handling, and where I want to read the data and the write the data into the file. Okay, and if I'm not having that file, and suppose someone has delete while someone may delete it, or someone may uh, that file may not exist, or you have given the wrong name. So you have to handle the situation, and that checked is being done, or such mistake if you're doing, that is being checked in the compile time. Okay, so that comes under compile time errors. Then we are having runtime errors, which errors are occurred at a time of a execution of program. So during some calculation, or during accepting some input, because of that input some logical mistake happened, and your program will, what I can say, gives you the exception, and that is runtime errors. So the program errors which is there, the program errors are of two types: syntactical error, which I've already told you, grammatical mistakes which you do. Like suppose in if statement, you have given the condition and after that you have given semicolon. What will happen? It is a syntactical mistake. If you are having braces open and you have not closed it, it is a syntactical mistake. Then semantical errors. Now what do you mean by that? If it is not a syntax error, but is no meaning of the statement, this statement's error comes in second type. Okay, so compile time or a static semantical errors, it arises at a compilation time. As I told you, where we can use this compile time error, I have not checked whether file is exist or not, and I have written the code, so that thing comes under compile time mistakes. Then we are having dynamic and or runtime semantical errors, which arise at a runtime, that is the logical mistakes which you do. Then we are having logical errors. Logical errors are means what? At certain condition it may run fine, but to another input it may not run fine. It gives you error. So these are logical errors. So these are identified at runtime only, because it is totally depend on the input or the calculation which you're performing. And you may get unexpected output of this situation as the wrong logic is implemented in the program. Okay, now main categories of the exceptions which is being given, that is the checked and the unchecked exception. Even though in the previous slide we have seen many types, but the two main types you have to remember: checked and unchecked. Okay, so basically Java has a mechanism, inbuilt mechanism, where it handles the exception. What do you mean by that? So whenever such exception occurs, whenever such logical mistakes occurs, what happens? Basically you are having Java runtime. This Java runtime, it's a program who handles the exception. Okay, so what actually it does, it whenever such situation occurs at particular line, your logical mistake, there is a logical mistake, what will happen? At that moment your program will terminate. Okay, then your Java runtime identifies what type of exception is this. Now what do you mean by that? Your each type of exception is being categorized, okay, of properly in Java. So each and every type of error is being categorized in terms of the classes in the Java. Okay, and whenever I identify such kind of or such type of exception, such type of error, it just give you the information about what type of error has been there, whether it is arithmetic exception, whether it is null pointer exception, or whatever. So basically your Java runtime is doing a job of identifying what type of error is that, and it gives you, it terminates your program and it gives you the information about it. Okay, just imagine my program got terminated, but I don't know what's the reason behind it. Okay, so that is the situation being very gracefully handled by your Java runtime. It checks what type of exception is that, and then it gives you message about that, so that at least you can get some idea that because of this input or because of this exception has occurred. Okay, so basically there are two types of exceptions which are there: checked and unchecked. This is very much popular, what I can say, interview question being asked in interviews. Okay, so checked and unchecked exceptions. So Java, as I told you, it is having inbuilt mechanism to handle the exception. So certain, certain things is being checked at compile time itself, and that is known as checked exceptions. So a compiler checks that the exception may arise at runtime. So before starting the execution, it is better to handle the situation. That means it makes you to handle the situation at that particular point itself. For example, whenever you're dealing with the files, your compiler will not allow you to run the program or to compile your program until you handle or you give a alternate, what I can say, handler for files. That means if file is not there, what should be done? Okay, so that exception to be handled, see, it may not occur, the exception may not occur, but still at compile time itself you have to give the proper, what I can say, solution for such type of errors. Okay, so whenever file handling comes at compile time itself, you have to handle it. You have to provide the solution if error occurs, what to do, that you have to handle. And if you are not providing that handling, your Java program will never compile. Okay, so this type of checking of exception happens at compile time, and that is nothing but a checked exception. Only certain types of exception you have to handle at compile time. Okay, not all. Similarly, you are having runtime exceptions or unchecked exceptions. So the name itself says that something I cannot handle or cannot identify at runtime, I will not handle it at runtime. So this type of exception arises in runtime only. See, exception always arises in runtime only, but where to handle it? At compile time or runtime? That is important. So in this case, for unchecked exceptions, this type of exception arises at a runtime and you have to handle it at runtime only. Okay, so the compiler is not related to this exception. So compiler will never check it. It will let you run the program. Whenever such exception occurs, the program will terminate. Okay, so you have to explicitly write the code to handle it. Okay, so that is unchecked exceptions. So like arithmetic exceptions are based on the calculations whenever such thing happens. So that comes in the category of unchecked exceptions. So here there are some examples. So here I am having example of an exceptions, division by zero errors, as we have already discussed. This is arithmetic exception types. Accessing the element of the array beyond its range. I'm having a array which is having a range of a 5, and you have tried to get the element which is at the 6th position, which is wrong, right? Logical mistake. So that is one of the example. Invalid input, hard disk crash. Okay, while running the program my hard disk got crashed. I can't do anything in that, right? This comes under error category. Opening of a non-existent files, heap memory exhaust. Okay, for this memory management is totally not being handled by us as a programmer, so which is not in our hand. Okay, this is hard disk crash is not in our hand, we can't do anything. So these are comes under unnatural circumstances, which is comes under error categories. So here I'm having an example also. Public class simple exep. I'm having main method, and here I have system.out.println 3 divided by 0, which will give you exception. That means the line after this statement will not get executed. Okay, whenever exception occurs, all the code which is there after that will never get executed. So as I told you that my Java runtime, who is responsible for checking the such or handling the such exception situation, is going to identify what type of exception is this, and it will give you the information about that exception. Correct? So as I told you, each type of exception in Java, each type of error in Java is being, what I can say, organized. There is one kind of a library, I can say. That's not a right, library cannot be a right word, but I can say that Java has maintained a proper library or proper documentation of each and every type of exception which can occur. Okay, so it has a proper hierarchy of such exceptions, such errors. Okay, so every time whenever such exception occurs, it identifies it comes in what category or which class, and that class information it will give you. Okay, so exceptions are nothing but what? Each exception is nothing but a representing one class. Okay, and that class object is representing the information about that type of exception. So basically, as I told you, Java has maintained a good hierarchy of such exceptions, such classes. So let's see what are the classes. So here basically you know that all the classes in the Java is inheriting one class, and that is object class. So object class is having throwable over your interface. This throwable is an interface, it's not a class. Okay, so this throwable interface is the parent most element or parent most interface of this hierarchy. So this throwable interface is being inherited by two classes, error class and exception class. Okay, so exception class is further being divided into normal exceptions and the runtime exceptions. Whereas errors, as I told you, errors are nothing but a situation which is out of your control, like memory crash, then hard disk crash. Okay, so such things you cannot handle. Okay, these are not logical mistakes basically. So such things comes under error category, and exceptions, which are the logical mistakes which happens at runtime, that comes under this category. So this is the hierarchy of your throwable class and its subclasses. Whenever you want to create your own exception, you have to inherit the exception class, okay, which we will see in next coming videos. So I hope you understood what is exception, what is error, what is checked exception, what is unchecked exception, then different types of exceptions, and how Java has classified each and every type of exception. Okay, so in next video we will see how actually we can able to handle such exceptions. Okay, so do share our videos, do like our videos. Thank you.